Morning light filtered through the canopy, painting the forest floor in shifting patterns of gold and emerald. Mina moved with practiced grace, weaving between towering mushrooms that pulsed with a faint, rhythmic glow. Beside her, Tiko trotted through the undergrowth, his fur radiating a soft, steady orange warmth that kept the chill of the morning at bay. Overhead, the rhythmic hum of metallic wings cut through the gentle rustle of leaves. Piko banked sharply, completing a perfect, tight loop against the cloudless sky before diving toward the treetops. Energy level full. "Time for a sky patrol," Piko chirped, his voice echoing clearly across the clearing. Mina shielded her eyes, watching the small figure climb higher until he was nothing more than a bright speck against the vast blue. She signaled to Tiko, who let out a soft, contented trill, his tail swishing through the ferns. The air was still heavy with the scent of damp earth and blooming nectar. Everything in the forest moved in sync, a quiet rhythm of life held together by their presence. They moved forward, deeper into the heart of the woods, unaware of the stillness that was about to break. The sky shattered. A sharp metallic crack split the air, louder than any thunder. High above, Piko's flight path broke. Orange sparks sprayed from his wings, trailing like dying embers against the blue. He wobbled, banked hard to the left, and then began to spin. "Warning, motor failure!" The mechanical shriek pierced the trees. Piko plummeted, his body twisting in a jagged, chaotic spiral. He hit the canopy, snapping branches as he tore through the leaves, finally disappearing into the dense undergrowth with a sickening thud. The silence that followed lasted only a heartbeat. Tiko's fur flared, turning from warm orange to a sharp, agitated violet. He bolted, tearing through the tall ferns without hesitation. Mina followed, her boots pounding the soft moss as she ducked beneath low-hanging vines. She pushed aside thick leaves, her eyes locked on the spot where the smoke began to rise. Every step was a race against the stillness of the woods. They leaped over fallen logs, branches clawing at their path, desperate to reach the clearing before the last of the light died. The forest seemed to close in around them, narrowing their vision as they neared the crash site. They skidded to a halt in the clearing. Piko lay half-buried in a mound of damp moss, his frame twisted into the earth. Thin, rhythmic clicks emanated from his interior, accompanied by the weak, intermittent flickers of his internal circuits. Mina knelt beside him, pressing her palms against the cooling metal of his casing. The surface was dented, etched with deep scratches from the impact. She pulled her hands back. The metal was unresponsive. Tiko nudged the bird's wing with his nose, but there was no mechanical hum to greet him. The forest around them seemed to dim, the shadows stretching across the clearing as the urgency of the situation set in. Mina stood, her eyes scanning the periphery until they locked onto the distant, pulsing glow of the forest core. She gripped her staff, the wood vibrating against her skin. The path forward was clear. She turned to Tiko, who let out a low, grounding huff. Together, they moved toward the center of the woods. Every step was measured, turning the initial panic into a cold, calculated focus. They had to reach the crystal, harness its energy, and force the life back into the silent machine before the systems failed entirely. Mina drove the base of her staff into the earth. The crystal at the core flared, sending a brilliant, focused beam of light arcing toward Piko. The air in the clearing ionized, smelling of ozone and crushed leaves. Tiko leaped onto the moss beside the damaged bird, his fur erupting in a cascade of iridescent particles. He stood rigid, his energy pouring into the cooling metal. The light intensified, blinding and white, washing over the clearing until the shadows vanished. Mina held the staff steady, her arms straining against the raw force of the current. Inside the frame, the gears began to grind. The sparks that had once signaled failure now coalesced into a steady, pulsing glow. Tiko's tail whipped, channeling his focus into the circuits. The silence of the machine broke. A deep, resonant hum vibrated through the moss. Piko's optic sensors flickered, shifting rapidly from a dim red to a sharp, steady green. The light in the clearing snapped back to normal. Piko's wings snapped open, venting excess heat in a sudden gust. With a sharp kick of his landing gear, he launched himself upward, leaving a trail of shimmering light as he ascended back toward the canopy. High above the canopy, Piko banked hard, executing a clean barrel roll that caught the afternoon sun. He dipped, rose, and chirped a melodic signal that echoed through the trees. Below, Mina stood on the mossy floor, her hand resting firmly on Tiko's back. Tiko's fur, which had been a strange shade of deep purple, faded slowly back into its characteristic soft, warm orange. He leaned into Mina's touch, his tail sweeping the ferns in a rhythmic, content motion. The forest seemed to exhale, the wind returning to rustle the leaves with a gentle, steady cadence. Piko dropped lower, hovering for a heartbeat just above their heads before climbing toward the vast blue horizon. He became a small, bright speck, navigating the space between the branches with renewed precision. Mina watched him go, the tension in her shoulders replaced by the steady weight of her staff. They were no longer just individuals, they were a synchronized force. The forest was quiet, the threat of the crash long forgotten in the wake of their success. As Piko vanished into the high clouds, the three of them remained in their places, still connected, still alert, watching over the woods that they now protected together as one.